Chula Radio Plus presents Chula Innovations Unlocked.
This week, Chula Innovations Unlocked takes you to the Thai Music Digital Library at Chulalongkorn University's Office of Arts and Culture. Not only do we get to know more about this one-of-a-kind music museum, but the Vice Dean of the Faculty of Fine and Applied Arts, Chulalongkorn University, Associate Professor Dr. Pornprapit Pausawat, also shared with us her insights on how future curatorial practice students should cope with the various forms of art in the digital world.
Dr. Pornprapit, welcome to Chula Innovations Unlocked.
Welcome.
Right, and thank you for allowing us to film in your beautiful museum here in Chulalongkorn University's Faculty of Applied Arts, right?
Yes.
Right.
Oh, and please call me Ajahn Rose.
Ajahn Rose, all right. Is that the name that all the international curators know you by?
Well, I go by Rose because Pornprapit is too official.
Okay.
Right? And then to be remembered.
And thank you for allowing us to film in your beautiful location here. Where exactly are we? What do you call this place?
This is the Thai Music Digital Library, and part of the library is dedicated to special collections of Thai musical instruments that Chulalongkorn University has been dedicated for almost 40 years to do research and also to revive a special type of ensemble which was invented and created and especially designed during the reign of King Rama V.
Right. We didn't have recording devices at that time. How can we be sure that the music created back then is pretty much accurate?
And that's why we need to have a museum. Because the museum tells you a lot about the object, about the stories, about the past, present, and then the future.
Things we find in most museums are ancient artifacts, ancient items, pretty much just old stuff, right? How do these things, once placed in a museum, benefit today's world to progress into the future?
Because when you would like to share something, especially the story that you have been dedicated your time, doing a lot of time to do your studies, and then I think museums serve as a space so that you can share information, to share the story, and also to share the sound. How many museums, just in Thailand, how many museums that have been dedicated to a collection of a musical instrument? Have you been to any museum?
An entire museum dedicated to Thai music? I'm not so sure.
We haven't, actually in Thailand, we have not have found one. There's one that at Mahidol University is huge and dedicated to a collection of world musical instruments. Right here is based on a project that Chulalongkorn University started in 1982, dedicated to Wong Pi Phat Dik Damban. So for myself, I was so impressed by the concert, and that's why I decided I must come and apply for a Faculty of Fine and Applied Arts to study how Pi Phat Dik Damban ensemble was played. Back to your question, how do we know that, how did it sound in the past?
Exactly.
So we study with those. We were so lucky when I was a student in the 80s, let's say. We invite those teachers who were part of the ensemble in the Royal Palace, and then they would come to school, and then we have a rehearsal for about a week. They would come weekly, and they would check on us. Oh yeah, this is sound right already. And then you work on this one a little bit more on the xylophone. Each row of the instrument has the section and then has the function. So we learn from the living masters.
Okay, and it's 2024 now. They're all pretty much
bye-bye.
Okay, right.
Most museums don't allow people to take pictures due to security issues, fearing that people may copy the work or steal the artifacts, right?
So what's the rules here?
We are very open. We would like to encourage young students to visit this museum, to try on the instrument, and then to also even measure the instrument. And I would like to say that the story that we have put it on the exhibition is, it goes into the details, and the career how to write those kind of statements that we would like to share the details about how we build these instruments.
Right, the story.
The story. How do we find the ivory, which is a very sensitive element, sensitive materials right now?
Okay.
Now, do we find it from the dead elephants, where it's from, which province? How do we receive, and how much does it cost?
Right.
And how the university negotiated for the price? How do we transport the ivory? So it has been now written up on the board.
Right. So apart from the gallery that we're in here, what else can we expect upon visiting your musical museum?
We have a digital library that we have been collected. So speaking of copyright issues, there's a project that the Office of Art and Culture has been planning. So the Friday evening of the first month, it is called Chula program. In order to avoid the issues and the problems of copyright issues, we build up our collections upon the agreement of the musicians that we invite them to perform here, and then we do the recording. Also the stories again about the families, about the members of the ensemble, about how do they learn, how do they pass on this repertoire within the family. Over the past 40 years, it has been a large collection, and we transfer it from the analog system and digitize them. Now, on campus, it is a digital music library.
Digital music library.
And for the students who study, so they could come and then listen to this collection. For example, the first year, the first semester for the traditional music major. In the past, before I didn't have an experience to come here because the library was not existent. I have to shut down the notation and then go back home and then try to recall the music and the sound in the classroom, in the studio. Now they could come here and then listen to the collections according to which school, which teacher that they would like to learn the style.
Right. Oh, all right. Now, apart from the museum here, I understand that Chulalongkorn University has a number of museums on campus.
So I look at the number just for you today. It's around 35 to 30 museums.
Wow. You know, as an alumni, I had no idea that Chulalongkorn University, with about 20 faculties, have up to, 30 museums altogether?
It's around 35 to 30 museums, like officially so that they announce themselves. Some of the gallery didn't even call themselves as a museum, but actually they tell the stories. They have rare collections, a very precious and valuable collections that they have been passing down from the lecturers who are going in a field trip, or maybe from the foundation of the school. It really shows that museum is part of the university. And so to name a few, Museum of Snails, Museum of Turtles, Museum of Printing Technology, Museum of the newly discovered animals, Museum of Insects. This is like wow museum. Most of them are hosted in the Faculty of Science.
Which one's the most popular?
Speaking of the number, the visitors of the museum.
Most popular is?
One of the most popular one is the museum in the biology department, the newly discovered animals. And another one off campus. Have you been to Xishang Island?
เกาะสีชัง Chonburi? No.
How many? Really? You gotta go.
I will.
There's one, a museum, Jutatut Rajathan Museum. It named after one of the prince who has been a patronage, giving support to art and culture. So if you go on the island, visit our museum on Xishang Island also. You can go to the Faculty of Science, the engineering school, medical school, the school of dental school. And then we have a collections that dedicated to the Tripitaka, or the Buddhist religious texts. And then also right here, the art and culture that dedicated to the music.
Right. So how important is it for universities to be responsible of having their own museum? Isn't it like the job for the Ministry of Arts and Culture or something?
I think museum is when you have the collections, is the curiosity. The word curator is the one who is the gatekeeper of a space or or a household full of things, wonderful things that we would like to share. So, and it's encourage you to question where are they from?
Right.
What is the story behind it? How do we obtain it?
Okay.
And how can we learn from the past, continue us to our present,
Okay.
and then to send it to the future? In any field, how do we develop the field of medical school in Thailand? About engineering school, even how about you, political science?
Political science, yes.
Right?
I still don't really see if political science is going to have a museum. I mean, what would be shown?
I think Chulalongkorn University, the whole campus, is a living museum. Right?
Of course.
So we are actually on a very historical land, a lot of history. If we started to look at our own story, we would understand ourselves much better. And my question is, we have so many museums here. How are we going to take care of the museum?
Now, apart from being an art lover, an artist, a lecturer in fine and applied arts, you're also a curator, and you also teach people to become curators.
I'm so glad that you asked about this, and thank you so much for address these questions. I think in Thailand we are so rich of culture. We are so rich of traditions that we could share, like local wisdoms. So we encourage the community and also our students who coming from remote areas to come to study with us, and then think back about their childhood.
Okay.
So we could solve the problems too. When they graduated, they are not only looking for a job in Bangkok, so they wouldn't be leaving their village, they wouldn't leaving their town. If they're going back to their own town, which field, but they could look at what do they have in their community, and then they could start thinking about maybe it could be a creative space, or it could be a community center, or it could be a learning center.
Okay.
Now we have launched a program which is a curatorial practice. It's a master degree, and in the first stage we launched it as an international program. So we're working with curator in Indonesia, especially in Southeast Asia, that we do share the same, not the same kind of history, post-colonial, colonial, and also the kind of the historical journey that we have been gone through just for us as Thailand. Because the past, the history, you cannot deny that it affects the art, the development of culture, the development of the sponsorship of music.
Of course. So it's the political / cultural perspective of atmosphere of what's going on at that time.
Right. So the curatorial practice would encourage our students to link the fact and also the content of the art itself, or the art of the culture, then link it to why it had become such way, why it has been affected, and what is the factor that ignite or influence the artist to think and to produce the work that way.
What's the worst thing that could happen if any museum were to be set up without a curator who has the proper knowledge?
I think it's okay. It is okay. If you are willing to share, if you're willing to do the cataloging, and then you realize, and then you would encounter certain issues that working with your own museum. It could be in your house. You can share, and then you can come to the curator's community. You don't have to call yourself a curator. Just the love and the passion that would enrich the community. One concern is about ethics. And what is about ethics is about the copyright issues, especially intellectual property. So these issues is going to be discussed in the class. The logistic that would be discussed in the class together with professional curators. The system that they have in order to protect both the owners and also the museum owner.
I see. That makes perfect sense. In this day and age, how do curators adapt themselves to the technological advancements that step in to museums?
We cannot deny we are living in this digital age, and we have to adapt and adjust ourselves, even though I'm not a digital person. But I think it opened doors and welcome museum goers, and I cannot go to New York, but I can visit a virtual gallery in New York. So that is the advancement of the museum and the gallery. One of my students is working on the collection of Thai musical instruments in London in the British Museum. So he was able to gain an access to the collection of these musical instruments, and he was writing a thesis here on campus in Bangkok, but gained these valuable informations, the collections of musical instruments that had been sent to the British Museum during the King Rama V. Chulalongkorn University has a partnership with Google Art and Culture.
Google Arts and Culture.
Yeah, and a few universities in Thailand has been signed an MOU with Google Art and Culture at the Faculty of Fine and Applied Arts. We work with Google Art and Culture at the beginning. Google Art and Culture lent us a high-resolution camera to digitize a work of art by our lecturers and also from alumni, so that we could archive them and then begin to start the exhibition, do the selection, curating on the Google Art and Culture Museum.
So how does this Google Art and Culture work?
So when you work with the digital stuff, you need a technology and also an equipment. One of the equipment that Google Arts and Culture has a collaborations with us, they send a camera, 360-degree rotation. So, and then we have an open call for our student in visual art department, and also our lecturer who is a photographer and also a professor in photography, to work with our students and then take turns to work in this lab.
Most museums don't allow people to take pictures due to security issues, fearing that people may copy the work or steal the artifacts, right? But in today's world, lots of museums are going towards virtual reality. I mean, how do you prevent the problems which may occur?
Then we have to ask the permission from the owner. If the owner allows it, you can take the photos now. I think the ideas of being copied is such an honor, which means your work is good. So I have been talking with a lot of artists, and they said, you have to accept it. Copying, it means your work is being honored, is being accepted. But at the same time, we also have to sign the consent form. So this is part of the document that is very important in doing a museum, doing a gallery.
With the digital technology that's going on at the moment, do you see the day when people no longer have to visit museums?
Well, I don't know, but now we are entering the...
You see that coming?
I do see it's happening. For example, an outdoor museum, when you have such a sculpture or even wall art, it's being exposed to the sun. So we capture it, and then so we could put it in our VR museum. And you never know how long it will be being able to stand under the rain and the sun. And are you being able to apply for secure another budget in order to maintain, right? So each project, it lasts maybe 3 or 5 years. Some of the artwork is very fragile. So it could be another function of VR museum to keep this work of art a lifetime on the virtual gallery.
Then again, apart from government support and from donations, lots of museums rely on the tickets. You know, people buying tickets to come in. I mean, would that be like a little cut short of income?
Museum shop? A restaurant. I think there are now the museum function is becoming much closer, the distance. I think a lot of museum has been now working in order to be to reduce or to cut down the distance and to be closer to the community. A space in a museum is beautiful. It could be a banquet, and I have seen a museum in Minneapolis that hosted a banquet wedding. We may also need to build another culture,
which is
the school visit.
School visit.
Have you been to a museum? When were you the first time being exposed to museum experience?
Well, when I was in America, we went to the Smithsonian when I was in 2nd grade, I think. Yeah, but in Thailand, I think the first visit to the museum, I think it was 5th or 6th grade, maybe.
And when we compare, if we are in a museum in London, in Europe, in North America, I enjoy seeing young kids like kindergartens going through the museum and then looking at the object and then take down the notes, trying to answer the questions, and then talking among themselves. I wish to see that in Thailand. I wish that we would encourage our school to have a museum visit.
Right.
But back to the profit. So we have a different way to do the profit. A museum shop is one way. So we can develop a project that has a workshop. A workshop in a museum.
Training and all.
Yeah, training and all of that. Different kind of workshops, so that you can be a museum is a connection point between artists, musicians, choreographer, any field to talk with the children, talk with the people from all ages.
If anybody would like to apply for the curatorial practice at Faculty of Fine and Applied Arts of Chula, what's the process? What do they do? What qualifications do they need? What do they have to have their BA in? And how does it work?
We accept students from all field of studies. Whether you're coming from the art school, music school, you can be from a veterinary school, any field. If just only you're interested to tell the story.
Right.
And telling the story. It doesn't have to be a museum like this, but it could be starting with a small exhibition, how to start an exhibition, and maybe how to even to organize a concert. But it's not just about a concert. To bring the musicians together, and then what is the concept of the concert?
Right.
Or maybe a festival that would be encourage or educating people about ecology, about climate change. If you're interested in these two fields, and then you can apply to the program. It is an international program, so all you have meet the requirement of the English proficiency test, and then submitted your statements. Why are you interested to becoming a curator? And what you would like to be in the future with this curatorial practice.
Right. Is it hard to graduate?
Well, I have seen our students both struggling, but then they finally gradually successfully graduated.
And have fun along the way, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.
Dr. Rose, and I wish you the best of luck to you and your future students who will become future curators.
Same to you. Thank you for having me on this program.
Thank you. ขอบคุณครับอาจารย์ครับ
ขอบคุณค่ะ
Chula Innovations Unlocked is produced and presented by Superjohn Klinsawan. This program is brought to you by Chulalongkorn University.